Yes. Okay, Brett, I'll talk to you later. I'm in the middle of an interview, all right?
Okay, Pete, see you.
Bye. Yes, there wasn't any of this stuff when we were around.
Certainly wasn't.
What did people do to entertain themselves?
I just can't work out how we ever stayed in communications with each other. There was 10, was there 10 of us by that stage?
Yes. But records and the radio, that came later, but somehow the word of mouth. We quickly outgrew those inner city venues and ended up, for some strange reason, becoming very popular on the northern beaches of Sydney.
It grew so quickly. We went from packing the pit out, which was 80 people or whatever, but they were all a captive audience because they were all into the sort of the style, but it grew so quickly. The word of mouth must have just taken off.
It was the heyday of the live pub rock scene. That was what people did for entertainment, and we were, I guess, like a party on stage. That's what they referred to us as. A kind of, the Allniters gigs weren't just gigs, they were like a party. And everyone was invited, and it was just crazy, and it was spontaneous, and we made lots of mistakes, but we incorporated those into the show, so it was good fun.
I remember
we didn't take it seriously.
Well, you know, I remember playing at places like the Manly Vale to full house by 8 p.m. By the time we went on, the place was packed, jumping. I think I always remember there was always that thing where by halfway through the set, there'd be half the audience would be up on stage with us, because the party had just it had become one.
It was like a giant organic thing, and the weird thing was, you'd look out and you'd see the sort of rude boys and the mods that were still coming, and then behind them there'd be a row of surfers wearing Bob Marley t-shirts, and then just sort of ordinary, all the different people.
So there were some subcultures.
Subcultures mixing with subcultures, and the common thing was just everyone was having a good time. And of course in those days, a lot of drinking, everyone used to smoke inside the venues. I remember breathing 900 cigarettes a night.
Yeah.
But it was very atmospheric and very infectious.
The media's treatment of the scene was quite interesting as well, because there were a lot of the mainstream music press or music journalists didn't really know what to think about the mod scene or about the rude boys. They didn't understand what the hell the difference was between a mod and a rude boy. They didn't understand the differences in the different types of music. And what was really interesting was that they were always trying to reference it back to something from an earlier age or a similar band in Australia. And if there was no similar band, then they were lost. It took people like Stuart Coupe to actually come and immerse himself in the scene, to understand what was going on, and to get an understanding of the vibrancy of it.
Oh, we had trouble really finding sympathy in the recording industry. They were old rockers wearing their, famously we used to say, wearing their 1976 Fleetwood Mac tour jackets. And they just couldn't see what we had, and they certainly didn't understand the ska movement.
I think at one stage we were the most successful touring band in the country without having an album. So it was time to try and put all that magic down on vinyl, as it was in those days, and put an album out. And that process was very difficult with so many members, as you can imagine.
Yeah, things were changing fast. We were asked to support The Clash at the Capitol Theatre, and that was going to be exciting and a bit scary, because they were one of the bands that we'd sort of been inspired by.
Yeah.
And I do remember facing a rather hostile audience of hardcore punks down the front who were doing their best to gob on us.
Yeah, I remember I had that thought, if I move more, it's like a moving target. When they're spitting, it's going to just sort of sail past me. You know?
I think we were saved by the orchestra pit out the front. They just couldn't quite reach, but that was fun. I think we sort of won them over in the end. It was a bit of
I think
fun and games, but I do remember watching Joe Strummer off the side of the stage who was checking us out because
Go and do
he
Strummer voice.
came up afterwards. He said, "Great band, guys. It just reminds me a little bit of the Specials." And I thought, yeah, it's funny that because we were doing a few Specials numbers in the set in those days.
Yeah.
And what did you say to him?
I actually think I said, "Thanks a lot, Mr. Strummer."
Probably the only time you ever got called that.
Yeah, it was one of those moments that I do now regret.
The quest for a producer began, and with so many different dissenting voices in the band, all wanting a different producer, we drew up a short list of people, and it was everybody from Joe Camilleri to Martin Armiger from Sports, who we eventually chose. Martin Armiger was my suggestion, so I thought he was the guy with the right disposition to wrangle the 10 or 11 or 12 different dissenting voices and musical input required to make a record that everybody was going to be happy with.
So I really don't know whether Martin was the right fit to produce the band. He'd only seen us, I think, once at the Tivoli. And the Allniters, the essence of the Allniters was all on the live show. Like the energy and the feeling that you used to get at a live show of the Allniters didn't transpose onto the record.
I don't want to be too critical of Martin Armiger because he had a very difficult job to do, but he wasn't really sympathetic to ska or to our live sound. I have to thank him for giving us a top 10 hit that's endured till today, so thank you, Martin Armiger, for that. But I'm not crazy about the rest of the recordings we did, and that's largely our fault too. We should have had more practice. In those days, recording was very expensive.
We had our original fans who absolutely loved the way that we sounded on stage, confused because they bought an album. You know, they'd waited 4 years for this album to come out. They bought it, they pushed it to number 2 in the charts first week in. They probably got it home, put it on the turntable and just went, what the? Who is this? You know, this isn't the band that I've been supporting for 4 years.
I actually enjoyed doing the album. I thought the way we did it and what we did with it was a good way to go because we were a live act. We weren't doing a live album, which would have been preferable. A live album at that time, I think, would have clinched and been really, really, really good. Brilliant thing to have done, and I'm sorry we didn't.
And at the end of the day, I think the album didn't really capture what the Allniters was all about.
It was around about that time that we bridged the gap between being an independent band and being a commercial band, really, wasn't it?
It was. We were working very hard as a live act, but we didn't have any serious records. We only had our indie records, which...
I think we were playing with a lot of, you know, apart from the Clash gig, I think we played with Toots and the Maytals and
UB40 on their first ever tour.
And all the Aussie acts like Midnight Oil and Cold Chisel.
That was hard.
Mental as
that
Anything.
was a challenge, yes. And the funny thing was, we needed to get a record out, but the music industry itself was a little unsure of the Allniters. They didn't really know how we fit in, so it was kind of hard to get a record deal.
I guess they were used to, you know, the rock and roll thing, and you know, along comes this band
playing a slightly not well-known style of music, and
you know, dressed really strangely with strange flat haircuts.
We looked more like
braces
people's uncles than rock stars. But we finally did get a deal with someone who was brave enough to take us on.
Which was Powderworks.
Yeah.
Ironically, was Midnight Oil's label at the time as well, wasn't it?
That's right. The problem was then finding a producer to actually try and get us onto record.
We had all these other influences telling us that you know, maybe we should change styles a little bit, and maybe we need to be a bit more commercial. And I think
in the end, it was very mixed up, and that's how the album turned out, very mixed.
Yeah, well, I certainly have mixed feelings about the album. It was, I don't know how to describe that.
Indescribable.
Undescribable.
Unforgettable.
In every way.
What was it called again?
Montego Bay, we started doing that song live and it went over really, really well. So I thought this could be a good single, so pushed the band to do that as a single, and Martin Armiger produced it as a single. And yeah, it did very, very, very well for us.
We made the record with Martin, and the first single was Montego Bay, and that was a top 10 single nationally, and that changed everything.
Early to meet me when the Boac lands. Keys to the MG will be in his hand. Just do the driving and I'm on my way. The sun's on the right side of Montego Bay. Sing out! Come sing me, man. Come sing me, Montego Bay. So you're there to meet me like a brother would. I think I remember now, it's twice as good. Like how cool the rum is from a silver tray. Just to be thirsty in Montego Bay. Sing out! Come sing me, man. Come sing me, Montego Bay. So I lay on a lilo till I'm lobster red. I still feel that motion, baby, home in bed. I tell you it's hard for me to stay away. You ain't been till you've been down Montego Bay. Sing out! Come sing me, man. Come sing me, Montego Bay. Lilo till I'm lobster red. I still feel that motion, baby, home in bed. I tell you it's hard for me to stay away. You ain't been down till you've been down Montego Bay. Sing out! Come sing me, man. Come sing me, Montego Bay. Dance in the street. Come sing me, Montego Bay. Come sing me, man. Come sing me, Montego Bay.
So Montego Bay, that set us up for quite a future. Thank God. Something had to. No, Montego Bay was great. It was a good song for us all. Did very, very well for us. Got to number 3 or 4 nationally or something. Oh, yeah, so it kept us. So for an old rinky-dinky ska band, to get into the charts was a big thing.
You got something that I never had. You got something that I want so bad. You had something, I had nothing. You told me something, you say it's no lie.
Montego Bay came out, and as a result of the band's huge live following, the readiness of commercial radio to support it, the general willingness of the industry, and most publicans who fancied a band that could pull a large crowd to get behind it, we were struck by lightning, and as a result of which the band was then playing 6 or 7 nights a week to literally 1,000, 1,500, 2,000 people a night, and we tested the capacity of more pub venues than you can poke a stick at.
When it started charting, yes, everything started happening for us. It was fantastic. It was the turning point from turning the Allniters from I suppose, an independent band into quite a mainstream band. Good moment.
And before we know it, we've got a hit. We're not really sure how it happened. We just know that when we show up to gigs, they're turning people away at the door.
All of a sudden it went into the top 10. All of a sudden it was on commercial radio. All the venues were full. It was packed. It was pandemonium. We're on top of the wave.
So with the release of Montego Bay, we did a lot of press for it.
Right, fan clubs. People join fan clubs to be closer to their idols. And some bands, ignore their fan mail. But that great Australian band, the Allniters, they take their fan mail very, very seriously. And with big hit singles like Hold On and that marvellous one, Montego Bay, they get lots of mail. So a fan club was started For more about this, Edith Bliss.
Wow, by the look of this, heavens, the postman's going to want excess baggage. Hi, everybody.
Hi, Edith.
Wow, by the look of all this stuff, your fan club's going really well.
Oh, it's fabulous. Fabulous. How's yours going?
Mine's not so good. I seem to have a problem with membership.
What seems to be the problem?
No one's joined.
Well, maybe you're not offering them enough. Let me see what you give your fans when they join the fan club.
Oh, look, I've got lots of great things. I've got a black and white photograph of me when I was 2. Yeah, and that's me at kindy, and, and I've got some curls for my last haircut.
Fantastic. Yes. Well, I think your mum would probably love that, but I think what you really need is something fantastic like a newsletter telling them all the history of what you do and who you are and all that, and some fantastic photographs taken by a professional photographer.
Right.
And a little letter from Ted over there, who writes to everybody individually. And we offer stickers, the badges.
Wow. How much does it cost to join?
Well, that costs $5 a year, and you get all that stuff and a newsletter every month, and you get discounts on T-shirts.
T-shirts? You got T-shirts?
Oh, we've got hundreds of T-shirts. Actually, we're just expecting a new batch to arrive at any minute.
I think they're here.
Yep, they just arrived. Look at this. Fabulous. Look, we design all these ourselves.
Really?
Yeah, all the time.
What else do you design? Anything else besides T-shirts?
Oh, kitchens, bathrooms, badges, stickers, posters. Posters too, yeah, we do posters as well.
Oh, there you go.
Backdrops.
Do you get to read all your fan mail?
Yes, the band comes round here once a week and we read all the fan mail and sign autographed photos and like to keep the personal touch with.
Oh, that's really good, because most bands, I suppose, would just leave it to somebody else to do, wouldn't they? Being in a band as popular as the Allniters does, however, pose certain problems. Gone are the days when they can walk the streets like normal men. Certain precautions must definitely be taken.
You got something that I never had. You got something that I want so bad. You had something, I had nothing. You told me something, you say it's no lie. You call me something and you make me cry. You got something that I never had. You got something that I want so bad. You had something, I had nothing.
Well, I guess the moral of this story is, if you can't beat them, join them. They went that way.
Every town and every city that we went into, it was either radio or TV press. I remember we went on Donny Sutherland's, I think it was Sounds, and I had my 18th birthday on the show that day, and they bought me out a cake, and Ted Mulry sang me happy birthday, and that was my 18th birthday, and I was actually legal to play in pubs for the first time.
This time we'll go to Love and Affection, All-Nighters, good. Then the Sports, and then Simple Minds. We'll do 3.
The momentum continued when we put out Love and Affection as the follow-up single to Montego Bay, and while it didn't make the top 10, it made the top 20, and that continued the rise and rise of the band. I think at that point they were more popular than they had ever been, or probably arguably would be in the future, and that was then marked by relentless touring, because at that point everybody wanted the band sometime, somewhere, all the time, and it was just a case of managing all the different offers and opportunities that were rolling in.
The album escaped or was released to great critical acclaim.
It was fast, wasn't it? Like within the first 2 weeks, I think we'd sold 30-something thousand albums.
And we only had to buy 5,000 of them ourselves to start it off. But
yeah, well, I think that
it was
rocketing up the charts by that stage, and I think even Countdown had to put the clip on, didn't it?
Well, they put the clip on, but we were one of those few bands that never actually appeared on Countdown Live, I think, because Molly was part of that industry that didn't quite understand what we were all about, so they sort of just put up with us because they had to, but It was a bit of a strange time because we were incredibly commercially successful, but not part of the mainstream, really.
Yeah, Molly just didn't get us, but I guess we did pave the way for ska bands after us. Like, you know, No Nonsense had some success after that, and then I guess further on down the track came Area 7 and the Porkers, and now Melbourne Ska Orchestra.
It's booming again, yes.
Yeah, and I think that was because they just didn't understand what we were doing and the music style, the way we dressed, all of those things.
But the kids did. The kids got into it because it was good fun.
5, 4.
Donny Sutherland was always a huge fan of ours. I think half the time Donny Sutherland liked us because we were sticking our tongue out at the music industry, thumbing our nose at the music industry. But Molly out and out refused the Allniters, even though we're a top 10 band, refused the Allniters to do what every other top 10 band did, which was appear on Countdown. That was okay with us too, because we hated Molly Meldrum and we hated the Countdown machine. So even if he had have offered, we would have said no. And we were pretty adamant about that.
What's this?
This is the best gag in the show.
It's our RCA rep. A record company rep. Okay, out there with the rest of the garbage. Thank you very much.
We got good reviews, but in general we were sort of the sore thumb of the unit. What do we do with this mob? They're weird, they're different, they don't fit any category. We created our own. The ska music, or the Allniters music, I guess. We created our own little category and no one really knew what to do with us within the music industry, so we just sort of ploughed our way through. I think we had the attitude of, how hard can it be?
Success created some different fractures within the band as to what they should do with this newfound power. So we do move into the drinking their own bathwater section, which is, having had 2 massive cover versions, then a few people in the band decided they should write their own song, and that would be a hit too, and that subsequently proved to be a mistake.
I've always been a big follower of the Allniters, of course, and... Huh? Big follower. I like what you're doing, and I like the ska music.
You shouldn't have said what you said in Ram, though, Jono.
Oh, listen, I did, I must say, on national television now, folks, I did write a damning record review of the new one, Screaming Dreaming, but I did it, it's grown on me.
Like
a bit of a cyst. Here's the brand new one from the Allniters, Screaming Dreaming.
It's us. Hi, Mum.
The next obvious thing was to expand the band's audience, and to that extent I went over to America. I had a couple of meetings, one actually very helpful meeting with Island Records, but as one could appreciate, trying to sell an Australian ska band wasn't necessarily the act that people in America in particular were looking for, and clearly they weren't going to take it in the UK. So at that point we then went, well, we're faced with a situation where the band continued to tour, and at that point the touring became repetitive, relationships started to fracture, and there was, I felt, a sense of what to do next. But when you've got a juggernaut that's just moving ahead at that pace and the bills are being paid, then it's probably a very poor suggestion on the part of the manager that it might not last forever when you've got 12 people prepared to shout you down and go, what do you mean it's not going to last forever? Of course it's going to last forever. And trying to find new audiences and new places to play proved to be more challenging, particularly when the band was writing and putting out singles that weren't being received with the same enthusiasm that Montego Bay and Love and Affection and some of the others had been received by.
But yeah, good times had. At the end of the day, it was all a lot of fun, and the success was, you know, pretty awesome.
Success went to our heads.
I think we thought that we could crack the big time overseas, and I think Roger decided to go maybe to America.
California, I think he went.
California, and to see if he could
interest the Americans or hoodwink them into
believing
that we were the new big thing.
And I think that was about at the time when things started to plateau.
Yes. It levelled off. We went as high as we could get legally, and then it kind of levelled off. And it was a case of, if you didn't go overseas or do something like that, where else would you go?
Where else were we going to go? We'd been around the country 6 or 7 times, and we'd played to as many people, and you know, it's like I think you used to say, you know, how many times do you go and see your favourite movie?
Yeah.
You know, you don't see your favourite movie every month, and we were appearing in Melbourne, Adelaide, Perth every month,
And
it started. You know, the
familiarity breeds whatever.
we either needed to come up with another album, or we needed to go overseas, and I think that's where
In the end, we didn't do either.
we didn't do either, and I think that was, we were getting tired at that stage.
The pressure, yes, it was. The fun can be fun, but then it becomes pressure. Too much pressure,
Too much
as
pressure.
Pauline Black would say.